have any work experience. And, you know, a lot of them have aspirations to go to Middle East for their careers. And because, as you might probably know, Kerala is one of the top states which exports good human talent to Middle East. And so we are all very eager to hear what you speak. And students, you know, this is really a good opportunity for you to interact with Mr. Harwood. And, you know, please take this opportunity. I think, you know, just to give you a sense of how this will proceed, I will introduce our guest this morning, and Mr. Harwood will address his for about 40 minutes, is what I was told. Am I right?
About 30 minutes, I believe. 30 minutes, yeah.
Okay, 30 minutes, sorry. And then we'll open the floor. Yeah, we'll open the floor for questions. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Barry Harwood, Director and Founder, Harwood Law International Limited. Barry is a consultant and director and was a founder of Harwood International Limited. He is a former barrister and was at the bar for over 22 years. After completing his combined pupillage in criminal and civil law, he went on to specialize in employment law, all aspects of discrimination and tribunals. He's a senior champion and a role model for Stonewall UK. In this time, he also spent 12 years as a senior lecturer in law, teaching the bar professional training course at Manchester Metropolitan University. He's also a fully qualified mediator and was a former pupil supervisor. He put those skills into use on various committees, of which he's a trustee member of a multi-academy trust. He was also a previous elected member of the Bar Council of England and Wales, serving on both the Equality, Diversity and Social Mobility and the Education and Training committees. He also gave back to the profession by teaching advocacy to bar students at the Lincoln's Inn residential weekends. He was a staff governor and equality and diversity champion to the Board of Governors at Manchester Metropolitan University. He was the LGBT chair for staff, and in his free time, he enjoys traveling and a glass of red wine. He's a qualified international civil and a commercial mediator. Welcome, Mr. Barry Harwood, to RVS over Zoom, and we look forward to your speech. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I can't pronounce your surname because it's saying ... after Q.
So, okay, that's fine. You can call me Senthil. You can call me Senthil. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Senthil, and thank you for inviting me to speak to the group. After hearing my introduction, it almost sounds a bit like an obituary. I feel I have no time to sleep with that introduction. Sounds like I've been very busy. I suppose that's one of the lessons that I'd like everybody to take away today, and that is that time is precious. As you get older, you realize things go much more quickly, and therefore I don't regret anything that I've done or attempted to do in terms of learning. The learning that I've covered is still only a small fraction of what lies ahead, and I think if you always remember that there's so much more ahead still to learn, that you will never ever get bored with learning. And learning should never be seen as a chore. I don't need to really give my introduction because it's all been so eloquently done by your doctor, so I won't dwell on that. Suffice to say, I will draw on examples of the things that I've done to help you in your learning and your journey ahead. Many of you would be graduates from my university. Just as a point, if anybody has a microphone that's not on mute, if they could just turn it off, because I'll pick up all the background otherwise. Just moving on then, lifelong learning, what is it? How can it help you get a quality job? Well, I think I'm evidence of lifelong learning getting me a quality job. In order to become a barrister in England and Wales, it's an extremely tough and challenging role. So you are very, very much facing stiff competition from other bright, talented individuals who come from all sorts of backgrounds And I celebrate diversity, and I'm from a working class background. I didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge. I didn't go to any of the red brick universities as they're known. My career started in the police service age 17. I joined the police service in the United Kingdom age 17. I worked until I was in my early 30s and did 15 years service, reaching the rank of sergeant. And I was heading up the ranks, but I took the view, having done my first degree part-time while still being a police officer. So imagine I'm running onto night duty, having been to university in the afternoon, having only got to bed at 6 a.m. the following morning after my night duty shift. So I was combining essentially an access course first, which gave me the A-levels that I never managed to get at school. So I only left my school, if you like, in 1 year in the sixth form by getting more O-levels. They're called GCSEs now, but they're ordinary levels. I got those, and then I thought, I need to do a university degree course. I'm really interested in all sorts of things. What can I do? So I had no A-levels at the time. So what I did was I did an access course of 4 subjects in personnel management that gave me the equivalent of 4 A-level qualifications in 1 year. That got me onto a degree course down in the southwest of the UK, and that was a BA Honours degree course in applied communication management. Now, some of you are very interested in management, so this is highly relevant. Applied communication management, I studied for 4 years to diploma level, diploma in higher education. I left that course and was promoted in the police service, and so went to a police training school, and then did another year of a policing degree and a social science degree. The final year of my degree, which was a BA Honours degree, was a social science degree down in Southampton, right on the coast, down in the southwest of the UK. I did my BA Honours in social science. I got a grade 2-1, which not a first, but it's the next best to a first because it's a 2-1. That led me to think, well, maybe I could become a lawyer after all, because there is a 1-year graduate diploma course called a postgraduate diploma in law, essentially a 1 year's master's degree at postgraduate level, allows you to convert your degree, your undergraduate degree, to a law degree. So I did that very, very difficult course for 1 year, qualified, passed, and got my master's degree in law. I then did my 1 year bar professional training course. And that's the bit that solicitors, who are one type of lawyer, and barristers, who are another type of lawyer, have to do to qualify to do the legal practice course or to do the bar professional training course. Having done those two, having chosen one of those 2 routes following my master's, I then passed the bar course and I got pupillage. Now, pupillage, if anybody is interested in law, is the 12-month period in which you learn on the job training. So a bit like work experience. If you're coming with a management degree, you might well be loaned out to companies. You might be seconded to business schools or companies to work with them to learn how to apply your knowledge gained on your degree. We at the University at Manchester Metropolitan used to have a lot of students go out on what we call the sandwich degree. Essentially, that meant that they were able to go and work with a company for a year, and instead of doing a 3-year law degree, they did a 3-year degree. They did 1 year out in industry, then came back for the final year because they were able to reinforce the learning. Many of our entrepreneurs, and I know some of you will become entrepreneurs, will take that route because they want to make those connections very early on with business, because at the end of the day, the business is going to give you a job where you're either going to be employed or be a self-employed successful person. Now, your country has produced many billionaires, many successful entrepreneurs, and it's a thriving country, and it's very diverse. I have a law firm in Jaipur, where I'm a member of the law firm called Capstone Legal. I'm an associate international consultant for them, and they're based in Jaipur. And one of the managing partners, who's a good friend of mine, was taught advocacy by me, which is the court skill. In other words, the ability to speak before the court. I taught him advocacy. So he's also an English barrister as well as an Indian litigation lawyer. He's very successful and runs his firm with his brother. They're doing extremely well. So maybe some of you might want to link with him afterwards. So I digress slightly. Let me move on with the lifelong learning points. So I taught law part-time at Manchester Metropolitan for 12 years. And during that 12 years on the bar course, so teaching postgraduate law, the course that I did, Having secured my pupillage and having got my full tenancy straight away, I became a fully qualified barrister. It took me around 8 years in total, from the part-time undergraduate degree through to the postgraduate degree, through to the bar course, and then to secure pupillage. So you've got to be determined, you've got to be prepared to play the long game and go after your objectives. Now, my practice area and my company called Harwood Law International is solely a civil type of practice, civil litigation, but more importantly, my specialism is employment law and discrimination. So if you've read anything about me or you heard the introduction at the beginning, you will see how much I really care about equality, diversity, social mobility, all of the things that allow a level playing field and allow students from all backgrounds, people from all backgrounds, and I'll come back to the older generation, the more mature generation shortly, because I have another, if you like, insight into that to offer you. So just digressing again slightly, this was a very, very important role, teaching the bar course part-time and running my practice and being a lawyer for 3 days a week and being an academic for 2 days a week. Now, no such thing as part-time. Anybody that does part-time and studies on your course will know that it's impossible to say any job is part-time. You are cramming so many hours into what you do, whether it's study or work or both. I also taught law for 18 years for the Open University, Now, the Open University was set up in the United Kingdom in the 1970s. It was, I think, James Callaghan idea, Harold Wilson era Prime Minister, where they wanted to open up study to everybody. And years ago, none of you will be remembering this, lots of the study was done at home. It was done through the TV. It was done through video recorders, through old video recorders of sessions. And now it's moved into a very digital, technological type of course where the LLB, the law degree that I taught for 18 years, had people of all ages. I even had a student who was 82 years old in my law group studying law, formerly a barrister, but to keep his brain working and to still wanting to learn, he wanted to come back and do the law degree. So he could do the modules part-time at home, through the internet, he could learn. So this is lifelong learning in action. Many of my Open University students' profile would be students in their early 30s who have a career, they're very successful, they have a family, and they're combining study with work. And they are really motivated students. Many of them do extremely well. They sometimes then leave the career that they're in, or it enhances the career that they're in, and then they move into something else or move completely into law and practice law and go on and do the bar course. So I've got many students now that after all these years of teaching, I come across them as opponents in court. They are sometimes against me. Some of them are judges. Some of them are judges as well. Some of them are very successful lawyers, and they've all gone off to their own careers. But my specialism is employment law, labour law, problems at work, disputes, constructive dismissal, unfair dismissal, discrimination on the grounds of somebody's race, their sexual orientation, their religion or belief, their age or their disability, any of the what we call the protected characteristics under the Equality Act of 2010. So I look after anybody who's an employee or an employer that suffered at work, whether they've been bullied, harassed, discriminated against, or terminated unfairly. I deal with all of those issues, and I specialize particularly in discrimination, and that would include what we call LGBT plus, QT plus characteristics. So somebody who's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, binary, non-binary, it goes on. There's a whole plethora of legislation in the United Kingdom around people being treated fairly at work. And obviously that's called employment law. So I specialized in that. I specialized in advocacy. The thing that I'm doing now is not just because I've got teaching qualifications, but I have got teaching qualifications. It's because I teach students who are going to be lawyers advocacy. That's the ability to be able to present like this in court without a script. I'm doing this completely without a script. Clearly, I've had a couple of days or a few days to think about what I want to say to you. And I'm not making all of my points. I'm just trying to make the best points. I'm just trying to make the points that hopefully the huge cross-section of people that I'm talking to, which I understand are your teachers, are your mentors, are parents and students, the whole range of people. And this is one of the key things for me in communication and lifelong learning, is the ability to decide and work out who are my audience, Who am I speaking to? Now, this is a difficult situation because in a sense, I'm talking to many people at different levels and at different stages of their, what I would call their learning journey. The learning journey never ends. It never ends until the day you die. That's number one point. You never stop learning. And I'm sure you can even learn something on your deathbed. Somebody could say something to you. You could think, damn, that's a good idea. I wish I was going to live long enough to be able to do something with that idea. So we learn from each other. There's peer group learning. We learn from our parents. We learn from people that we admire in society or in our family. Role models. Role models are particularly crucial in education, but also outside education in doing the work that I do. So fellow, if you like, fellow lawyers, fellow directors. I'm a director of what, 3 companies. So I'm a director of the UKR Group, which deals with direct foreign investment into the UK, direct foreign investment into the UAE over here, second passports, passports by investment, passports by donation. Basically, somebody who wants a second citizenship or residency contacts me at the UKR Group through Blackstone Citizenships or through UK residency, and we find them a second passport. Many Indian clients, many Pakistani clients, clients from all over the world, just to give you examples, who want a second choice, who want their family sometimes to be brought up in another country. Portugal, one of the European countries, Spain, Italy, Germany, wherever they want, you can have more than one passport. That's what it amounts to. Quite often it's on an ability to pay or the fact that you need to have a job in another country. And I understand that some of you will be coming to visit Dubai, so I'm excited to be able to see you when you come. We have many people from Kerala that are in here now in Dubai. I see them all the time in the office and I work. We're surrounded by people from India, surrounded by people from Pakistan and many other countries that come to Dubai to have a different career experience, whether it's in the medical profession or it's in business. But here, there are many attractions. So one of the key things that we do over here in the UKR Group through Blackstone Citizenship, by the way, these 3 websites are available. You can check them out: UK Residency, Blackstone Citizenship, and my own law firm, Harwood Law International. You'll see more about what we do. But essentially, if you wanted to open up a business here and set up a business from India in the UAE, it's very easy and straightforward. If you want your Emirates ID, it's very easy and straightforward. We do the whole of that for our clients. So if, for example, looking at your lovely secretary at the moment, if she wanted to open up a business in the UAE, she would contact me. I would talk to her about what she wants to set up over here. We would match her desire and activities. We would find her a free zone or a mainland zone or offshore, and we would help set up her business. We would register it with the government. We would get set up the bank accounts. We do the whole thing for her, A to Z. And then after that, we would obviously get her Emirates ID, so she could come in for 3 years on an investor or partner Emirates ID. The UAE have just opened up the visas even more. So there's digital nomad visas now. There are green visas. They're looking for talent like you that are at university, maybe doing degrees, master's degrees, MBAs, who want to come and, if you like, experience the work situation over here and become successful over here. So they're encouraging people like you to come over and apply and making the visa system very easily. But in order to run a business here, you have to have an Emirates ID. That's essentially a passport. That's a passport for a limited period of time, which is renewed at the end of each period automatically by you by paying a fee. It's not a problem. You never get a permanent passport, although they are doing a lot of golden visas at the moment, which last for 10 years. So the golden visa is available for people that can afford it because there's an investment into real estate, into property required for that. So that's another side of the bit of work that I do. And then at a distance, so from Dubai, I'm running my UK law firm. So I've got a number of people on my website, Harwood Law International, who are based in the UK and in different places, who do things for clients. And unless I have to go back for a long court case, which is very rare these days because much of it settles or is mediated, and I'm a mediator, then I can do all of the things that I need to do from here in Dubai. But remember, taxation is a real issue in the UK as it is in India and in other countries where it's particularly high. In the UK, corporation tax is moving up to 25%. The basic rate of income tax in the UK, if you're an employee, is 20%. Once you earn more than £12,750 a year, it gets 20%. Then it moves up to a higher banding. The more money you earn, moves up to 45% and so on. It moves up. So In other words, it almost seems like you're being penalized for working harder and earning more. Over here in the UAE, there's zero income tax, zero. So you can see it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you're an employee over here, an employee we're talking about, you do not pay any income tax on the money you earn whatsoever. Now, there are some indirect taxes around perhaps booking a hotel or booking other sorts of services, but they're very small, around 5%. So they're very, very minimal. And it's factored into the money that you receive. So what I get paid here in my role here would be free. In the UK, it's quite high taxation. You know, the UK has gone through 2 prime ministers recently, and a number of changes, and a budget that was a bit of a mini budget that was a bit of a disaster that attacked the pound, which saw the pound plummet a bit, and now it's starting to rise again. So in a sense, we want some stability in the UK. So lifelong learning, let's bring it back to the main topic in question. I'm mindful that I've only got 30 minutes to speak. I've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm trying to cram in as much as I can before I answer all your questions. And I know I've got a lot of questions that I've selected to answer. So lifelong learning, my Open University students manage work and family life and get a really good job, and it enhances their career. I'm still learning. Now, I'm going to turn 60 in January. I'm 60 years old in January. So I think the sunshine is doing me good in terms of the outward appearance. I'm not sunbathing too much, but I'm making sure that I look after myself. And this is one of the points I want to make. Mental health and well-being, fitness, giving yourself time out of the study situation. It's a bit of a conveyor belt when you're at university. And I used to say this to my graduate students who are looking for pupillage. They're working often 2 jobs and studying. Even the full-time students are doing other work to pay for the, if you like, student loan. And that's a loan that they take out with the government, but they don't want masses of debt when they get a job. So they're working hard and they want some money to spend while they're away at university. Manchester Metropolitan University, where I was a governor for 5 years before I left teaching around 2017, although I've never really left teaching because I'm now teaching clients as well. We have 38,000 students at Manchester Metropolitan University, 6 faculties. We were the 5th largest university in the United Kingdom, very diverse. Probably about 70 to 80% of our students were home students, but came from very underprivileged backgrounds where neither parent had been to university. So they were sort of first generation people to come to university. All ages. We had a number of overseas students as well, but not as many as some other universities, where they came particularly to study law and medicine and those sorts of, if you like, professions, because many of their parents were wanting their children to do better than they did or have better opportunities than they did when they were learning. So they encouraged them to come in and do the professional qualifications. So I was teaching students from Singapore, Malaysia, India, Hong Kong, you name it, Taiwan, Barbados, Trinidad. So all the Commonwealth countries, all coming over to the UK to get an English legal qualification. Excuse me. Now, that's quite similar with the medical profession. I know many medical consultants, doctors, nurses who've all trained in the UK and or have been brought in from other countries to work in our National Health Service. The Filipino community, the Indian community. There are many Indian doctors, many Pakistani doctors, all fine doctors and nurses. Same with teaching, but more so with the medical profession. They have a whole range of skills to bring with them. So what I'm saying to you in a nutshell is that whatever you're studying, whether it be management studies, whether it be law, whether it be, I don't know, politics or history, there are transferable skills in all of the things that you do. Transferable. Just think for a moment what you've studied so far, where you are in your particular program, what your ambitions are. All of the things that you do, including the networking that you do outside of the university, outside of the college, outside in your everyday life, whether it be playing football, doing sport, climbing a mountain, going around doing your shopping around one of the local supermarkets, you will meet people that will have a different background to you, a different experience and shared experiences. And the only way you get to know about people is to open this mouth and start talking to them. Well, you don't have to pester them and follow them around the supermarket. You don't need to do that. But you do need to seek communication opportunities wherever you can. And therefore being shy is not a good thing. Being quiet is okay. and obviously taking your time to talk to somebody, working out who they are and what sort of things they might offer. But everybody has something to offer you. You have something to offer somebody else. So just by having a discussion with somebody at a train station, having a coffee, in the canteen, in the area where you eat, maybe, just mixing with different people all of the time, all ages, is really important, because you learn so much from people that are older than you, in my experience. I've got a number of role models, but some are older, some are younger. Some are inspirational entrepreneurs and are very young as you, if not younger. Some of you are more mature like me, and therefore we still learn from people. But I think you've got to say that I never stop learning from my students. And I think as a teacher, I think the teachers will probably agree with me, you never stop learning from your students. Their life situation, their background, their experiences, sometimes their struggle to get to where they are, means that they will be even more successful than the next person, because they've had to try so hard. They've had to be determined. They've had to be motivated. One tip, always surround yourself with positive people, always. There are lots of negative people out there. It's a negative world. We've had COVID 2.5 years ago since COVID came. Every country is now opening up in different ways at different stages and at different speeds. The UAE have just announced today that we are removing all of the restrictions, virtually all of the post-pandemic restrictions. So no masks anywhere except in a medical place or limited circumstances, but everywhere else, everything's going back to normal, if we can ever remember 2.5 years ago. What has that 2.5 years been like for you in higher education, in studying? It's been tough, right? Very tough. Some of you have been learning in isolation. Some of you have had no peer support. Lots of universities, including my old university, had to do remote learning, blended learning, a bit of Zoom. We're zoomed out, aren't we? I mean, how many Zoom calls do I have in a day? I mean, we are all literally on the Zoom all the time. And actually, sometimes people send messages and emails and WhatsApp messages to people sat in the next room, sat next door in the next room, because they've lost the ability to speak. I don't know what it is, but you know, picking up the phone or going in to talk to a colleague or a fellow student is much better, because you'll end up talking about other things, not just the thing you want to talk about. With communication, emails is a good example. They can be misunderstood so easily. You intent and effect. You can send something that you think is quite friendly, quite innocent, quite jolly. It sort of says all the things you want to say. And some student or some individual can go, "Oh, that was a horrible email. I can't believe you sent that to me." And you're thinking, what? I didn't mean that. I just meant to say this, this, and this. I'm quite abrupt because I'm a lawyer, I guess, but I'm quite abrupt sometimes with my email communication. So I sometimes look at it and think, God, if I read that, I'd be pretty annoyed as well. So it's better to go and speak to somebody. It's better to pick up the phone or get them on WhatsApp and say, can we get on a Zoom call? Can we just chat? But it's better to do a face-to-face, such as what I'm doing now. I've got 5 more minutes left before I hand over to you. So hopefully you've got lots of things to, well, I know you've got lots of questions because I couldn't do them all in the time available. So that's a bit about my journey. I've combined practice with teaching. I've combined education with lifelong learning. Lifelong learning, as I said to you, is a story with no real beginning and no real end. It just goes on until you are no longer here. Many of you will, I mean, I reverted to Islam actually 8 months ago. From a Christian all my life, I became a Muslim 8 months ago. That was a massive transformational journey for me. And I'm very, very pleased that I did that. I think I must change my profile where it says, enjoys the odd glass of red wine, because clearly that's an anti-Muslim thing to do. Although many Muslims are on a spectrum. So many Muslims are good Muslims and not so good Muslims. So some will drink, some will be very westernized, and some will not. Some will be very, if you like, strict and in accordance with the Quran. But I don't believe that religion in any way should be imposed on anybody whatsoever. It's a choice. It's a freedom of choice. I don't say that any one religion is necessarily better than another. They all have equal value and they all mean something to people in different ways. And so what we need to do is to be tolerant. We need to be respectful, and we need to just live and let live. And if people follow a particular religion, then that's entirely a personal matter for them. It doesn't determine the sort of person they are. You determine the person that you are, not other people. So one of the rules I want to leave you with, or one of the messages I want to leave you with, always be yourself. Never make apologies for being yourself. Always watch and learn from others, your own peer group, as well as people around you that support and love you, but also look to role models as well. Look to people that inspire you, particularly if you're going into management. There's so many management figures out there that I suspect if I named them, it would be at the expense of not naming another. So we could say Steve Jobs, we could say Elon Musk, we could say we terribly disagree with what he's done with Twitter, or we could say good on him getting rid of all of the staff. I'm not sure we'd say that, but the point is, I'm just saying there are lots of role models out there. They've been successful for particular reasons. You've made them successful and I've made them successful because we buy into their products. And the only way that we can change that is to vote with our feet and not do a certain thing. But we all have freedom of choice, and I'm all about freedom of choice, freedom of expression. So I come from a human rights equality sort of background in the sense that I believe in fair play. I believe that people should be treated with dignity and respect. And in terms of your lifelong learning, I'm sure your teachers and tutors and mentors are trying to encourage you to be the best person that you can be, to excel in everything that you do, to help each other, and to use whatever life learning opportunities are presented to you to your advantage so you become successful. And then in turn, you help others. You help others because there are a number of things that I do when I don't want to go and talk about them, but you can find out about them. There's some things on my website and things that are charities that I support, but I can't support everybody. But what I say is I try and help as many people as I can. And I think that's not just a Muslim thing, that's the thing across the world. There are many people that are very kind, many people that you never hear about. So just be kind. Look at people with kind eyes. Look at people with kind eyes. Remember that expression. And if you look at people with kind eyes, they will treat you fairly and with respect. If they don't, move on. Block them. They don't form part of your network. You have a choice. You do not have to be with these people. Now, it's difficult when you're employed by somebody, but again, people vote with their feet if they're employed with people they don't want to be employed with. They either leave and find a better opportunity because it makes them do that, or they raise the issues and tackle the individuals, which is quite a difficult thing to do because some organizations are very entrenched and very, if you like, difficult to deal with because they surround themselves with people like themselves. Okay, so there we are. That half an hour went very quickly. If I was in court now, the judge would say, "Thank you very much, Mr. Harwood. Those are your submissions." And now we throw it open to you, the jury, the public jury, to ask your questions. I think you're going to ask them individually. Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Tulsi, are you going to start off, or how have you planned?
Yes, sir. I'm going to start, and maybe the
Dr.
students.
Tulsi is, sorry for the interruption. Dr. Tulsi is the director of our MBA school and a secretary. The lovely secretary that you mentioned is the secretary of the Arts College, and both of them are exceptional leaders, and they've helped build this institution to such heights. Dr. Tulsi, if I can just start off with one question that's been nagging in my mind, especially after he said that he was an employment lawyer. He is specializing in employment law. Barry, I was just wondering, with all the things that's happening in Twitter, I understand, I went to school in the US, I went to Texas A&M, so I understand it's a free country, you can just hire and fire people at will. But I was just wondering how the situation is in UK and more in continental Europe. I think it's a little more difficult, isn't it, to just hire people to fire people at will? Can you just shed some light on that, please?
Yeah, you make a really excellent point. In the United States of America and countries like USA, it's very easy to hire and fire. That's number one. They have very little holiday. I think it's less than 2 weeks a year. In the United Kingdom, it's very regulated. Employment Rights Act 1996 is the main piece of legislation, but lots of legislation, like I mentioned, the Equality Act. So you have the right not to be unfairly dismissed in the UK if you've worked for an employer for 2 years or more. That they must have potentially fair reasons to dismiss you. In other words, it's all about process. It's all about protections. It's all about freedoms. It's all about ensuring, if you like, fairness at work. That is a notion that many of my American clients, who I used to help, have no notion of. So American clients would own a UK company and they would be baffled at the way in which the UK would have to deal with the issues that of employment law from UK citizens or people working for UK companies who were overseas or resident in the UK. So massive protection. Lots of challenges through the employment tribunal system. During the pandemic, there was in excess of 40,000 cases backlogged, waiting to be heard in the employment tribunal in the UK. So you could sometimes be dismissed, bring a claim, and be waiting for up to 2 years sometimes for a case to be heard. So it was pretty awful. But there are lots and lots of rules around terminations, employment, selection, recruitment, transferring employees from one employer to another, and all the discrimination aspects that I mentioned that you won't find in the United States of America. So it's much better to be employed in the UK, one would say, because you have many more protections. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Please go ahead, Dr. Tulsi.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Barry. It was good to hear about your journey of your career, that you started as a police officer and later on you went for doing law, and you were a teacher as well. And more or less, it looks like the way I also started my career as an accountant. Then I went, working for 15 years, and then I upgraded myself with an MBA. I was really interested in doing chartered accountancy, but I couldn't do it. So then I had to do my MBA and then had to compensate it. And as you said, education is, it is a lifelong learning and it never ends. And as long as you want to promote high quality work, that is part of it. Now, as you are in Dubai, I would be happy to tell you that we had been planning our students to take industrial visit or an educational trip to UAE. Maybe we would be happy to meet you there, and maybe your guidance is required for the rest of the visit in UAE. Last year we had been there. Maybe this year I think that it would be happy to see you there personally and share more things. And my question is that our people, a lot of Indians are already migrating to UAE, but especially as our MBA students, after completing their MBA, they are interested in taking up jobs there. But I actually promote people for doing entrepreneurship. So I would take your inputs about how confident people can be provided. Our people, when they come to UAE to start their entrepreneurship journey, and how they would be benefited, and what is that education that is required for their further journey in UAE for doing entrepreneurship.
Yeah, thank you for your question, and I'll be delighted to meet you and the students when you come. I think the first thing to say is that on the 3rd of October, that's only just last month, the UAE made a number of changes to the visa system coming into the UAE, much easier. So for example, let's give you some specific examples around how it will help your students, how it would help an individual visiting. Now there is a 60-day visit visa, not 30-day visit visa, which is free on entry. So you have 60 days to come and look as a tourist and maybe do on-the-work training, but you can't actually be employed, but you can actually learn with companies and do some experience. And that 60 days is 2 months. That's quite substantial. There's also a situation here which changed a lot of things, where somebody loses their job now. That used to be the situation before the 3rd of October. They only had 30 days in which to secure another role. That's now 6 months. That's now 180 days that you have to find another role. Now, if you're a senior worker here and you were to lose your job, you might struggle within that 30 days to find something else, but 6 months is good. There's insurance now available where you lose your job and can't work, so that's worth having. The employer has certain obligations to provide healthcare insurance and things like that. But again, these things have changed. Your other question about entrepreneurship is there's some fantastic companies here that will offer learning opportunities. There are work visas available. There is a visa where you can come in, sort of have a look around, as it were, at the job market. Those are worth having, and they're in the new changes. I did a conference just over a couple of weeks ago on a lot of these new changes. So once I get that video, I'll be able to put it up and you can see many of the opportunities that I've talked about earlier. If you look at my LinkedIn page, I've posted about the work that we do at UKR Group, and I've said about the different visas. I've said all sorts of things that would be useful for your students to look at. This is a really good platform for business and I use it entirely for business. I now have nearly, just a few more, maybe after this session, I will get to my 22,000 followers. I have nearly 22,000 followers on LinkedIn. And after maybe this session, your students will come and join me and follow me. And then that will take me above the 22,000. I think I'm 21,950 something. But anyway, the point is, I use it as an educational platform, but as a business platform. People contact me from all over the world about, Barry, can you help with this? I want to get my family to move from Nigeria to the UK. I want to get, because we have a lot of clients from East African countries, from Palestine, Lebanon, lots of countries where there are Syria, where there are political difficulties or election or monetary difficulties, where they want a better life for their families. So what I'm saying to you is that education and this learning platform and these platforms are very useful if they're used in a positive way. Clearly, some people are negative, but the most people I deal with are positive. I hope that kind of answers your question, but you're very welcome when you come with students. I hope to meet you, and maybe your secretary will come as well. If she's allowed to leave, I don't expect I'll spare her for that period of time. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who has the next question? I think somebody has a list. There's a list of questions, I think.
Yeah.
Where's our moderator? He's got to find his list. Anybody?
Sir, does your country have a good education system? What are its strengths and weaknesses?
Oh, sorry. What are our strengths and weaknesses? What sort of system do we have, did you say? Sorry.
Sir, does your country have a good education system? What are its strengths and weaknesses?
Yes. Well, I would say, having worked in higher education and university sector for about 20 years, that we have a fantastic first-rate education system, and we do, because it's diverse. So one of the things that makes it good is its diversity. The other thing is that the government have a student loan study scheme where no student pays for their degree until they're earning at least £27,000 a year in a job. So in other words, they do their 3-year undergraduate degree, they get their degree, they probably have amassed anything in the region of 100,000 plus debt. So they won't pay any of that back to the government. It's the government that you borrow the money from, or the bank of mum and dad, because the bank of mum and dad often pay as well. So it's a combination sometimes of both. They won't pay any of it probably ever back to mum and dad, because mum and dad love them, so they'll probably never get it back. But to the government, it gets taken out of your salary at source. So in other words, if let's just say I'm looking at our secretary again, if she came through the education system here in the UK and she got a job and she was earning more than £27,000 per year, UK pounds, then her employer would have the inland revenue, the tax people, take out her, if you like, contribution every month from her salary to pay back the loan. So it could take her 15, 20 years to pay it back. But the government take the view of it's almost like a deferred credit card bill, yeah? Where you're going to have to pay it back eventually, earn a good job. So hopefully that answers your question. So those are the good things. The bad things are that there's probably too many courses available. There are too many courses available, and some of the courses probably need their relevance looked at a bit more carefully. So there's been a lot of talk around some media courses, some acting courses, some courses where you might think, what on earth are they doing a degree in that for? What's the value of that? So I think much of the university's approach now is around employability, around finding jobs for the students, because so many students are coming out qualified with no jobs to go to. And that's depressing, because obviously they're not going to pay their debt back, but we don't want them sitting at home doing nothing, or them doing a low-level job when they've trained to do something which is quite highly skilled. Many of your courses, I'm sure, are a kind of use it or lose it skill. Advocacy is a good example. Where you're not in court or speaking regularly on a regular basis, you're likely to de-skill and lose some of your skills. It doesn't mean you'll forget them. So if you have trained, or if you have got an MBA, or you have got a business degree, or you've got some kind of language skill, you should be putting those into practice and keeping the skills up in the hope of securing a really good job, either for yourself in your own business, which you may wish to set up in the UAE or somewhere else, or just in terms of being more employable. Employers will look at you more favorably if you've done something useful in the period where you have not been able to secure work. I hope that helps. Okay, next question.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Mohammed Al Basit, faculty of MBA. I have got a question that is education only for the young, or what should people learn after they have grown up, or what things should people learn as they grow? So, is it for young, or what they should learn when they have grown, or while growing, what they need to learn? That's my question, sir.
Okay, so number one, very easy question to answer. It's not for the young, it's for everybody of all ages, right up to included the day you die. I learned more from my grandmother, who was in her 80s, and I used to visit her regularly. We had a very close bond. I learned more about the war, the situation that she went through, her generation, food rationing in the war, starvation, struggling, working in a factory, making, if you like, weapons and army uniforms, but doing a whole range of things that men couldn't do because they've been sent away to war. The women, including our late Her Majesty the Queen, working and learning how to fix a car, for example, in the RVS, you know, working in the military. I would say that it matters not what age you are, it never stops. So we learn from the young. As I said earlier, I learn from my students, I learn from my children, I learn from my nieces and nephews. They're always coming up to me with things and my goodness, they're so clever. My mum, she's nearly 80, and she's actually mastered the Kindle and the iPad, and she can send me an email. How about that? She can send me an email. And she was, the children, by the way, the grandchildren taught her how to use her iPad. Can you believe it? And now she's like, why haven't you emailed me? Why haven't you sent me a message? She's like, you know, so I think we learn from every age group. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, that was good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next question, please.
Afternoon, sir. Do you enjoy learning new things? If so, just give me an example for it.
Oh, yes, I absolutely love learning new things, especially if they save me some time or some trouble, or it's been a problem. So the thing I learned recently sounds really strange. I lost my phone recently. I lost it in a taxi here in Dubai. Oh, my life history is on my phone, and I'm thinking, oh my God, drama, I don't have a spare. I've learned how to activate that, because it was already activated on the phone. Somebody had activated for me, the Find My iPhone thing. I learned how to do that. Unfortunately, it didn't work on the system that I had, but I learned how to do it. But what I've learned since, and this is only in the last couple of days, is how even if somebody was to steal it, even if they switch off your mechanism, and so you can't get the Find iPhone, there's a way on the iPhone of changing the settings so that if it's ever stolen, I can always activate Find My iPhone, and that stops the thief from deactivating the Find My iPhone. And I found that, by the way, by scrolling through TikTok, as we do sometimes, for hours on end, thinking I must go to sleep now, let's look at TikTok. So we just flick through and we find something useful, think, right, I remember that. So I'm always looking for time-saving things or things that make my life easier. Checking in online is a good thing for a flight. Oh my God, it's so wonderful, checking in online. I still struggle with putting the baggage labels on sometimes, but they've got people there helping you with that. But I think as you get older, you look for time-saving devices, you look for things that make you, and some of the youngsters look at you in absolute horror and go, God, you didn't know how to do that? God, I can't believe you didn't know how to do that, because they're growing up with it. But I think as you're an older person, I'm teaching myself new things all the time, and I'm learning from my team. My team are all under 40, mainly in their late 20s, early 30s. I think I'm the oldest person in the company, although I don't feel it and I don't act it, I'm sure. But I'm learning from them all of the time about how they use social media and the sorts of things they do. Some of them are very famous on TikTok, for example. One of them has her own fashion brand, that kind of thing. So there we go. Okay. Next question. Is there somebody with another question? I know I've said there's quite a number of questions to answer, and we haven't got to the end of those yet.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
I have a question. Sir, those studying makes you tired. Is it hard work? How can a student get energy for study?
So is study hard, you say? Yeah. Yeah, it's not. I think I remember your question. I was quite intrigued by it. One of the things that I did when I had a lot of examinations, all in a short period of time, very intensive, cramming a lot of knowledge into my head so it was going to burst. One of the things you need to do is to give yourself time to do something else, to swim, to run, to go to the gym, to do flower arranging, go and ring the bells in the church, whatever it is that you want to do that's not study related, because sometimes our brains can only take in so much information, and then there's overload and you can get burnt out. So I always find that exercise helps me study. So when I'm in the gym, and I'm in the gym virtually every day, or swimming, I'm keeping as fit as I can be out here. And in the sunshine, it's very nice. It's a lovely day here again. It never isn't a lovely day here. It's always just of how hot is it going to be today? That's the usual question. And I'm always thinking in the gym about other things. Sometimes it helps me put into place the things that have happened during the day. During a busy working day, as many of your teachers will tell you, and you will know, if you've had a lot of lectures or a lot of things to read, or you're doing an assignment or something, you will know you need a break. The brain says, oh my God, a bit like computer says, no, switch me off for a minute, let me cool down, put the button back on later and let me reboot. Your brains operate in a similar way. They think the attention span is something like 15 minutes. So you've all done very well listening to me for 30 minutes and now these questions for the last 15 minutes or so. But the point is, you can only take in so much information before it becomes of low value, because if it's of low value, it means that you're not understanding it, you're not processing it, your eyes are you're getting sleepy. You need to go out and do something, basically, even a walk, just to clear your air. We used to have dogs. Take the dog out for a walk was a wonderful way of breaking my study when I was doing exams. I'd be at home and my mum has always had a dog and I would just take the dog for a long walk. I'd wear the dog out as well as wear myself out physically, and then my brain would start working better. And also with law, with my job, I have a day job here. So we are 4 hours behind the UK here in Dubai, and you are 1.5 hours ahead of me in India, okay? So I'm already working in different time zones with different clients all the time. So I'm thinking, when I get home from the office, it's usually after 6, 7 o'clock time, a routine is gym. I've got to fit it around doing my UK work, which comes in at the time that I finish work in Dubai. It still comes in right up to 10 p.m. here in Dubai, because that's only 6 p.m. in the UK. So there's that to think about. Okay. Yeah, I hope that answers it. Next question.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I have a question that what characteristics should a good teacher have?
Well, patience, the ability to listen, the ability to communicate effectively, and also compassion and empathy. Empathy, not sympathy. I draw a distinction between empathy and sympathy. We can always be sympathetic with what's happened, but I think being empathetic is more useful, it's more positive. If a student's having a tough time at home, if they're having a financial hardships, whatever it might be, it's trying to understand how that impacts on them, their personal life, and their ability to study. Because as many of your teachers will tell you, any block to learning is something that needs to be dealt with. If a student is zoned out in class or on Facebook on their laptop or just not paying attention to what is being said, there may be an issue going on at home that we don't know about. I was pastoral care director for my course for all of the part-time students, and they had particular challenges because they were, again, studying in the evening after work. They were coming exhausted from work. They had problems with sometimes relationships, domestic violence, financial worries. There were every kind of thing you can think of. So what the good characteristics of a teacher are to create an environment which is positive to facilitate learning by not bringing any of their own baggage, that means, into the classroom. It's a bit like a person working in a pub. We used to say, be the barmaid with the smile. You come in, you listen to other people's problems, but you don't bring your own problems into the classroom to contaminate that environment. That needs to be a safe learning environment. You need to be maximizing the learning for your students. And even if you're feeling rubbish or not too well, your students will support you through that, but you still need to make sure you don't, if you like, make them feel miserable just because you're miserable. So there's a whole range of things there. I hope that some of the staff that are listening will agree with some of the things that I'm saying, maybe all of the things that I'm saying, but I think it's perception as well. does the tutor go the extra mile? Do they always ignore your emails? That used to really annoy our students when some tutors never ever reply to student emails. We're a service, we're providing a quality service. The students are paying a lot of money for a high quality course, and they expect their tutors therefore to respond to their queries and questions and concerns, because sometimes a simple email could be the iceberg. There could be much more beneath the surface that requires it. Just, I want an extension for my assignment, can sometimes be an alarm bell for there's something else going on in the background, need to find out. I'm not saying that the teachers have all the time in the world to do that, but they need to spot the signs where somebody isn't learning or isn't engaged. Hope that helps with the, I hope you like the answer to that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he has not unmuted.
He's, yes, okay. Next question then, please. He's smiling, so he must have liked it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barry.
Good afternoon.
It was nice listening to your talk and extremely motivating to see how you have climbed up the ladder, how enthusiastic you are learning and disseminating your knowledge. I just have a question. Are all your services digitalized?
No, not all of them. Not all of them. And I think there is still, I think, a throwback to face-to-face. For me, working with the Open University, they were very far on in their technology. So we had lots of online interactive tutorials based on PowerPoints that you could share with students. But actually, all the students that I taught throughout my entire time with them were constantly finding that the face-to-face tutorials, meeting them in person, were far more valuable. So there is a danger of moving to too much digitalization. And this contact that we're now having is interactive. This isn't necessarily, depending on the size of the group, always possible. And we've got a lot of students that questions that we couldn't even fit into this time available. But if we were in a class, I suspect we would deal with all of it in a couple of hours. You know, we would deal with everything. And also the non-verbal communication. I've done cases during the lockdown at court where you can't see the judge's face, you can't see the person that you're asking the questions or testing the evidence with, and it becomes very artificial. Even now, knowing when somebody is speaking just for turn taking is not easy, and then there's a delay with the technology. So yeah, digitalization has its place and we use it a lot, but I think there's still a massive amount of importance around face-to-face meetings where I think much more is achieved. When my clients come and see me in the office, invariably they want to sign up and pay and go with a program. When you're dealing with them over Zoom, it takes a lot more persuading, you know?
True, yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
Barry, I understand that you should be hard pressed for time. Do you have some more time for 2-3 questions, or?
Yes, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm a director. I'm the boss. I can do what I want.
All right. Yeah. Let's go ahead with another 3 questions, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Sir, I have questions.
Yes, Manaka.
Sir, who has taught you a lot in your life and who is your role model, sir?
Well, I think I mentioned her earlier, my grandmother, but also my dad and my mum. I think they were both my role models, because think how long you spend with your parents, and some of us never leave home. I mean, in the UK, some people stay till their late 20s and 30s because they know how well looked after they're going to be by their parents, and they know they're going to get fed, they're going to get their clothes washed, they're going to get a whole range of things that maybe they won't get if they move out on their own. So I think my role models very much my father and my mother, but also my grandmother, but both grandmothers actually, because they were very different, but they gave me lots of value. I suppose outside of the family role models, and we've all got people in our family that we admire and we go to for advice, would be people that have been strong with their leadership, and whether you've agreed or disagreed with their view. I mean, for example, for me, Nelson Mandela was a very influential figure in freedom and what he stood for, and how humble he was when he was finally released, and how his, if you like, becoming the president really started the end of apartheid and the segregation of white and black people. The sort of people like that, Mahatma Gandhi, there are a number of people that you can think of that, whether you agree or disagree with what they did, are quite serious role models. You know, Richard Branson, he's another entrepreneur genius, really. Whether you like his methods or not, he's been incredibly successful and still is successful and gives back to many students like yourself who are studying management, MBA, or doing other things. So yeah, that would be my answer. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Manaka. Who's next? You see, this is talking to the secretary. This is what you can't see. You see, you miss this face to face, because if you're in a room, you'll be able to spot the person with their hand up or something. But we can't get it all on one screen.
That's
Go
true.
ahead.
So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Oh, there you are, Dr. Suganya. Yeah.
Dr. Suganya. I'm Dr. Suganya, sir. A very good
Lovely to
afternoon.
meet you.
That was a really mind-blowing session, which was very useful for both the faculty members and also the students who are listening to your session, sir. I just have one question. So there are many educational resources, including online resources and university classes. Which one do you recommend now? And could you please give us an example for that? Which one would be the most effective pedagogical tool for today's youngsters?
Yeah. So there are two types of resources, really. There's the educational learning stuff, and there's depends on the profession that you're studying. So, for example, if you're studying law, LexisNexis is a fantastic database. It's virtually every case that you want to look up is online. So that's got a great search engine. And so if you're a lawyer, then that would be a great place for a lawyer to look. And there's the online white book, the civil litigation white book. There's a whole range of online resources depending on the profession. So what I'm saying is that one size does not fit all. It depends on the discipline that you're studying. So with MBAs, I think you need to look at a number of resources. There are lots of entrepreneurs that give free blogs. There are lots of people that offer free sessions on LinkedIn, and they are people like is it Mr. Bezos and people like this from Amazon, and people like I mentioned Steve Jobs. There are a whole range of entrepreneurs who have some have some databases that can be used as well. But I think it's really who you think fits where you are and what you're studying, who's going to add value to that. I mean, there are so many. I mean, the TED Talks, for example, come to mind. You know, the TED Talks and how good they are. And it doesn't have to be your discipline. You can still learn generic skills from any discipline. I don't know what your background is, but what is your background? What is your background?
Sir, I'm the head of digital marketing.
You're the head of distance learning?
Yes. No, digital marketing.
Digital marketing. Well then, yes. Right. So you are a great resource. You are a fantastic resource, and I'm sure you're trying to ask me. You know, the students probably come to you, the staff come to you, I expect, about how can we get this solution? How can we achieve this? I think India is very advanced in its technology in terms of IT. Many of the people that come here to Dubai, for example, have fantastic IT skills that they've learned in your country, and that they then get top jobs over here because you are so advanced in many of these areas. And many of even the call center staff are based in India. Obviously, technology to you is something that seems to be natural, more natural than it is to perhaps some other cultures. And therefore, you offer companies over here who need technology. Give you an example. We have a Talabat system. We have a Kareem taxi system. We have food order. You can order everything online, from getting your hair cut to having your legs waxed or something. If you want, you can order it online. They can come to your home and it can be delivered within 24 hours. And if it's a food thing, it's going to be here within 10 or 20 minutes if you order it through different apps. There are discounts. So what I'm saying is it's very, compared to the UK, which I'm comparing it to, I don't know about India, it's very digitalized. It's very, just tap here. I can go off this a call afterwards and I go, oh, I feel hungry. I'm going to order some lunch for me to be delivered at work. By the time I get to work, it'll be there, delivered for me. Simple. Paid for online. Just push. Apple Pay. How many of us use Apple Pay? These are the sorts of things that make our life easier. On the other hand, it makes us a bit more vulnerable to bad people as well. But nevertheless, we have to have some protections. And I like technology where it saves me time so that I can spend the quality time on the things that matter to me, which might be family, it might be a work issue, but get things done. I can get my apartment cleaned just like that. I can book somebody straight after this call to come in on Saturday or Sunday and clean it for 2 hours. And they'll come in, clean it, I'll let them in, I'll go, I'll come back, it'll be spotless, and I will pay online. Job done. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next question. You're welcome. Next question, please.
Sir, very good afternoon. This is Kanaraj, professor in finance.
Good afternoon, Mr. Professor in Finance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Being a trainer and teacher, and you also lawyer, and I have heard that you are a mediator for some time and medical professional. So I have a question that what is your learning style, sir? Here you see that we have a lot of styles like listening, reading, interacting, and doing things that flip learning kind of things. Or you have done some new method of learning. So which can be useful for the students if we have to incorporate here. You are a multi-skilled personality, as we have seen, multifaceted personality. So we try to take optimum out of it. That's why your learning style, if we could know, we can also possibly we will implement here, sir. That's why.
Well, thank you. That's a very interesting question. I thought about that question, which is why I selected it as a really interesting question. I think everybody is an individual and everybody will have their own learning style, which they develop through their own experiences and the sort of person that they are. So number one is to say, no one size of learning style will fit everybody. Everybody's different. And I learned this as a teacher and a tutor for many years, where you have to play to people's strengths or where people are likely to get the most effective learning. It's not always the best, but it's the most effective. And based on their styles, you have to treat people as individuals. So for me, my preferred learning style is doing. So doing, it's a doing skill. Learning should be fun. It should always be fun. If it's not fun, why on earth are we doing it? Because we are teaching it. So if we're not enthusiastic, and our enthusiasm won't rub off on other people. If we're boringly going in and delivering a lecture or a seminar, and we're not really that interested because, you know, we know it inside out and backwards, and we give that attitude, the students will soon pick up on that and just think, well, what a terrible tutor. So you need to be enthusiastic about what you do. What you do doesn't need to seem like work. It shouldn't feel like work. I'm also a reflective learner. So I do a lot of teaching of oral skills in terms of advocacy. Opinion writing is a drafting skill. Those sorts of things that lawyers need that require reflection. So to look back over somebody's work, and we use video, we use DVD as it was then, to record their performances. And then we take them back through the feedback, and we're taught as advocacy trainers how to deliver that feedback with a headline, with the evidence, with a replay of it, and then get them to do it again. So that's an active learning method, if you like, which is particularly helpful to a student who's trying to develop skills. Not so for maybe academic, if you like, development, but more so for the practical development of the skills, so that when they go into practice, they can put their knowledge about how to say things and how to structure a submission into practice. So that's an active learning, doing type of skill. That's my favorite type of learning skill. I suppose the other is around structure. So in law is very structured, very rule-based. India is a very rule-based society. It's full of bureaucracy and full of rules. That's been my experience of dealing with India. I have Indian clients who struggle to get money out of the country to pay for things. Banks are a problem. Just generally, administration is a problem. It takes a long time to get things done. Not everywhere, but in some areas. And my clients struggle, therefore, when they want to move to another country to get their money out. So but going back to your learning question, it was a very interesting question. I think we've all got different style, but I think we've got to reflect what the best style is for the students. And it's the majority style that usually wins. And then maybe one-to-ones, because I do lots of one-to-one sessions as well. So I would have students in on a one-to-one, not just for pastoral care stuff, but for special sessions, for learning sessions, where I'm playing to what I know they're good at, and I'm trying to develop them as an individual rather than as a group or as a class. Yeah. Okay.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you, sir. We also in India also we are modernizing the things. All the administration and rules and regulations have been digitalized nowadays, and we hope that we will standardize that. We will reduce our administrative difficulties.
I hope so, because I would like to just say one thing to you, and I'm sure your colleagues will agree, maybe the students will as well, is that we can over digitalize and over bureaucratize, if that's a word, whereby we put so many process barriers in the way that it blocks the learning. Sometimes we just need a simple sit down and coffee with somebody and a chat with them just to do that. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one last question from Professor Rajamani.
Okay, lovely. Waiting.
Yeah. Are you there?
I'm waiting for the question.
Sir, I think madam is not here.
Okay, something happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful session, Barry. Thank you very much. Very enlightening. I think the underlying thread in your talk was, definitely lifelong learning. But what our students and what we all should also take is like learning does not happen just in the classroom. As Barry mentioned a lot of times in different aspects, he learns from the students, he learns from the clients, he learns from interactions with various people. So learning is not just a formal activity that you undertake while you are like in school and college, but actually this is a time I think you learn how to learn. This is what I have learned from Barry's speech. And there is enormous learning that is ahead of you. And I'm sure you have taken an inspiration from Barry's life. I certainly have. I strongly believe in lifelong learning, as many of my professors and already know. And I'm still doing courses and everything, and I'm learning a lot from the interactions inside the classroom. I'm teaching a course called Digital Business Transformation, and I'm learning from the students in every class. So learning, you've just started, students, and you have a long way ahead. And thank you very much, Barry, for spending your valuable time. And definitely you'll see your LinkedIn connections improve over the next couple of days, I'm sure. And we would also connect with you, when we have some plans to expand into Middle East as well. Right now, I have started a business in UK, and it is investment business into real estate. So I understand that is not your area of specialty, but
no, it is. It's my area. We also do that as well. We have real estate investment company in the UK, as well as a real estate company that we just set up here in Dubai. So we can talk about a lot of common things.
All right. So maybe I'll set up a separate meeting, and I'll come online with you, and then I would need some guidance on that, please. So thank you very much, and on behalf of all of us, we extend a warm welcome for you to visit us whenever you're here in India. Maybe one of these days, in the next couple of years or whatever. If work or some pleasure should take you to India, please do visit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to speak to you all. I'm sorry I haven't got through everybody's questions, but maybe this is something that we could do again with a different topic, maybe if you feel that's appropriate in a few months' time. But certainly when you come over, I will make sure that I look after you and see you all and show you around, etc. Maybe introduce you to some other people as well. So I look forward to speaking to you again and seeing you all soon. And thank you for hosting it and introducing me and being so kind with your lovely questions. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.